Can a person be trespassed from a hospital in California? All right, it's a good question. My name is Anthony Bandiero, attorney and senior legal instructor for Blue to Gold Law Enforcement Training, bringing the roadside chat. This question again comes from an officer in California. He says, well, first of all, he said, I wanted to thank you for all you do for the legal community. I'm an avid follower of your content and frequently show your videos to roll call. Man, that's exactly actually what these videos were kind of meant to be, is showing them, having conversations, whether I'm right or wrong. You know, you can disagree with me all you want, but just get that conversation going so you're out there doing the right thing and you're articulating what you're doing and so forth. My question relates to the seizure of an individual refusing to leave a hospital, right? Maybe a detention. We respond to reader calls daily at our local hospital to meet with hospital security regarding subject disturbance in the ER lobby. 99 out of 100 times, the subject in question in the lobby has already been seen by medical staff, and he does not want to leave. He's refusing to leave. He wants more treatment. He wants more drugs. He wants more X-rays. He wants a different doctor, and so forth. I get it, and he's saying that you have not addressed my medical concerns. The hospital staff is always eager to have PD respond to kick the patient out. However, the patient usually wants to be readmitted and get seen and evaluated again. We explained to the staff that we are not able to arrest, detain, or kick out the subject who now wants to be seen again by medical staff. Okay. This seems to be a revolving door issue where the subject is unhappy with the service, causes a disturbance leading to the PD being dispatched, and is ultimately walking away after the subject readmits into the hospital. So it's almost like the hospital has no choice but to readmit this person. Would there ever be a point where the subject in question, could be legally be trespassed, right? Even arrested from the property if they have been discharged and are not willing to be re-seen by medical staff or refusing to leave the ER lobby? Okay. He's saying he expresses his doubts about it, about arresting this patient. I understand that, but the jail staff would immediately push the big red button, given we took them from the hospital, and would call paramedics who ultimately would take the subject right back to the same hospital. All right. He says, I know we can't be the only city dealing with this issue any legal education. All right, first of all. Okay, so there's a few things here. Okay, so let's look at Penal Code, Section 602. It's California's trespassing statute, which this is what 602 is a very long and unfortunately slightly convoluted piece of work here. A lot of states have like 4 lines of sentences that just talk about, if you're told to leave, you better leave. But subsection O says trespassing occurs when the person is refusing or failing to leave land, real property, or structures belonging to or lawfully occupied by another and not open to the general public upon being requested to leave by a peace officer at the request of the owner or the person in lawful possession, and upon being informed by the peace officer that she is acting at the request of the owner's agent, and so forth. This applies to hospitals, right? It applies to private property. It applies to public property. A person has no inherent right to stay at the DMV because it's cold outside, right? Buildings have a purpose. Certainly, there are places where you have to be careful because it could be a public forum, right? So the park has a purpose for leisure and relaxation and sports and stuff, whatever it is. But if the person's engaged in the First Amendment, that's a public forum. But the DMV is not a public forum, right? It's a place where you get your driver's license and so forth, and you get bad service, and you hate your government. The corrections, the jails are not public forums, so people can be trespassed from there. And hospitals, right, are not public forums. They can be trespassed from a hospital. But of course, you want to be careful here because the officer is very astute about the whole revolving door issue, right? If you end up arresting this person and you bring him to the jail And they are told, yeah, we just grabbed this guy from the hospital and he wants to be seen again. They're going to just call paramedics. And it sucks. It really, really sucks to be caught in this position. But at the end of the day, you can't say that they can never be trespassed, right? Because that would mean it's a safe haven for people that don't want to be outside, sleeping outside, but they don't have a medical condition that's going to be treated. They go to the hospital, they're then released, and they say, I want to be retreated. They're like, we're not letting you in here. And they say, okay, well, I'll be sleeping over in this corner because the police can't touch me, right? That's not reasonable either. So you got to be, we have to have like a balance here. So there is an issue, though, that there is this, under California law, there's something called the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. Hospitals must provide medical screening to anyone requesting care. So the individual's intent, right? They're looking for care will influence this decision and so forth. I am not remotely at all educated on this EMTALA law, not even close. But I am smart enough to know that pretty much every state has a law in the books that hospitals must provide emergency care to those requesting it, even if they cannot afford to pay. That I know is a federal law, okay? So there's no right to refuse people in medical distress and so forth. However, I'm also smart enough to know that a hospital is not a free-for-all for people just to get all the care they want at taxpayer expense. If the person is not in a medical emergency and they just have something that they can't diagnose or something that the person needs to see a specialist for, and the emergency room is not the place to service them, then they don't have a right to stay there. Okay, I do know that. So here's my advice: we really need, with something like this, you really need to get the stakeholders involved. You really need to get legal counsel from the hospital and somebody like a captain over at the jail, and somebody like a deputy chief or somebody at your department. You got to get these guys all together, and you got to say, look, what are we going to do here? Because the hospital's pissed off that these people are not being taken away. The jail is concerned about their liability. The cops are stuck in the middle. We don't know what the heck is going on here, because it seems like the person being at the hospital and taking them away is potentially going to cause a huge lawsuit if they die. What do we do here? Here's my suggestion to get the conversation started. Get these people in the room, and here's how I think it kind of looks. The hospital has to be willing to write a statement. Somebody in that hospital has to be willing, that is the appropriate person, whether it's a doctor or a nurse, to write a statement about this particular person, that they have been seen, that they are not suitable for care at this time. They don't have an emergency. They need to see a specialist, whatever it is, something that complies with these laws. They know what the law is, and they're saying this person is not, he's not going to be admitted to the hospital and so forth. So he's done with his services, and therefore because he's done with his services, he's no longer allowed to be in this facility. We got to make room for other people. Sign that, give it to the cop, then hopefully de-escalate, persuade this person to leave. If they do not leave, they go to jail and they get evaluated by the nurse. And we go from there. Hopefully the jail can come up with some kind of balance here. But the point is, something has to give. Now, the officer did say, I know we're not the only agency. That is true, but I have not researched this issue. This is really one of the few times it's come up in my world. But I certainly agree that this is something that likely occurs on a very regular basis. But this is probably above the patrol officer's pay grade. It's going to require stakeholders, especially at hospital. What are they willing to do to help mitigate or eliminate police liability for taking a patient away from a hospital, right? When these cops have no idea what they're supposed to be doing with these medical issues. Okay? Hope this helped to some degree. If you like, at least it's a conversation, right? So if you like what we're doing here, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. And until next time, my friends, you stay safe.